What's up, fam? It's Calla from Recalibrate, back with episode 16 of the Lightin Up Podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined with my friend Kelly, who is a end-of-life doula, and we have what is called a death cafe, which is really just a gathering where people can sit down and talk about death. So with it being Scorpio season, and actually today, Monday, being Dia de los Muertos, I thought this was a perfect time to release this episode. I've actually been sitting on this one for a while. We recorded it back in August, but the timing just didn't feel right. And with last week's episode about the sacred release of pregnancy, I thought that this would be a perfect day on Dia de los Muertos in Scorpio season to really just sit down and talk openly and candidly about death. So that's what you can expect in this episode. It's really pretty casual. Kelly and I talk about some of our own experiences with death or fears about death, and just all sorts of things around death and dying. So thank you for taking the time to sit down and listen. A couple disclaimers before we get into it. One is, you'll notice that I call her Uncle Kelly, and I don't actually know why I do that. Some of our mutual friends call her Uncle Kelly, so I just call her Uncle Kelly too. I think it's just like an endearing term of love, and it's silly and fun. So I just wanted to throw that out there to answer that question. And the other thing is that nothing on this podcast represents medical advice, legal advice, personal advice, career advice, any sort of advice. This podcast is really just for entertainment purposes only, informational purposes only, and really just to shed light on these topics. So, as always, if you're experiencing anything that requires professional help, please seek it, and always remember to tap in with your own intuition, your own guidance, and that sort of thing. So I think that's all the disclaimers I have, besides don't do drugs. I can't wink. But yeah, so with that all being said, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for being here. I hope that you enjoy this episode, and let's grab a candle, some sage, Palo Santo, sacred smoke, whatever you've got laying around, and let's lighten up together, fam.
I feel like there should be a green screen in the back, and like over here we have sunny days.
Who's sunny days?
No, like the weather, you know.
Oh,
like, and here it's 75 degrees.
Yes.
Slight chance of precipitation.
Always. It's nice. I was like, oh, I don't stink. Good. All right. These were the two decks you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's up, fam? It's Calla from Recalibrate, here with my friend Kelly.
Hi.
We're gonna we're gonna shed some light on the topic of death today. So grab your candle, sage, Palo Santo, and let's take a moment to have just 3 deep breaths together. Bring it here to the present moment and center ourselves together. So we will breathe in together. I like to breathe in through my nose, but you can breathe however you want. And then we'll breathe out through our mouth, perhaps even with a sound, to really just center and ground into this moment. So here we go. Let's breathe in and let it out. Next one, make this the deepest breath. And last one. As I light this candle, I just want to call upon all of our ancestors and guides, our loved ones who have passed over, who are just here surrounding us all of the time, helping us on our journey and our path. I want to call upon light beings, angels and guides, all of the benevolent spirits, and Source itself, to really help Kelly and I shed some light on the portal that is death, and just have a conversation to take away some of the fear and just support each other in this life that will ultimately lead to death for all of us. So thank you for this opportunity, for guiding our words and our hearts and allowing us to be present and just anchor more light into this planet. Thank you. Yay! Thank you, Uncle Kelly!
Hey. You're welcome.
So this is what Uncle Kelly taught me is called a death cafe. Can you tell us what a death cafe is?
So my idea of a death cafe is just this. It's like we're gathered here today. Not in the union of marriage. But just, in theory it would be more people, right? But I think it's so beautiful to just have it as your podcast. We're just having a death cafe. So it's
So what is a death cafe?
We're getting together, we're honoring the loss of our loved ones, or just the memories of them, or to talk about death. I think it's definitely curated to specific groups. I was telling you, the first one I went to was literally just about let's talk about death, baby.
Yeah.
But it was just people who, one person was a photographer for funerals, and then just legacy projects. Which, do you know what that is? It's just putting together memories and stuff.
Yeah. I'm watching your hair on your microphone.
But yeah, it's just a gathering to talk about death and just however that flows.
Yeah. So we were talking because the beautiful thing about a death cafe, in my opinion, is that it's not just a support group for people who lost someone to cancer or anything specific. People from all walks of life can come to a death cafe. It can be those who are grieving, or people who, like me, are pre-grieving. I feel I'm pre-mourning the death of my parents, or people who are curious just about death in general. And we can all come to the table and just talk about death.
Baby. I think it's Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about death, baby.
Yeah. I do not own the rights to that song.
One thing that you said to me, because we tried recording this podcast before, but my phone was all glitchy, or there was aliens. We don't know.
Yeah.
Something weird happened. So we're redoing this. But the thing you had taught me in the last conversation we had that I loved that you said was, talking about death doesn't mean it's gonna happen. Or that, well, I mean, it is gonna happen, but
eventually it's a fate that comes for us all.
Yeah. But you're not drawing it.
Right. You're not going, if you talk about death, you're not gonna die that day.
That day,
again, it will come when it's supposed to, just like any other time in your life. And that's, death is a part of life. So why not talk about it? Why not destigmatize that? We're also in this time of deprivation and loss and death, and so come together in community and talk about it.
Yeah. Support each other, because
it's time.
Yeah.
It's time
to face our death.
Yeah. To talk about it.
Yeah. I always talk about how I feel a lot of these cocoa measures and all of this fear is just stemming from our unresolved fear of death. And our fear, just our own death, the death of everyone we love, and
just relationship to mortality.
Yeah.
It's if we start having these conversations, it's going to be less, I don't know if it'll be less scary, but it will be normalized,
Right.
Let's include death in our conversations. Let's include life cycles and,
Yeah.
just how people are so chill to talk about birth and birthing and babies and and then we hide from aging and look at how our society treats the elders in general. It's like push them away somewhere else and get them out of here. And I mean, there's like, I don't know if it's still new, but there's a movie called like, is it Old? It's like, I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want copyright stuff.
No, I think it's fine. You can say that shit.
It's literally a movie about people who go to this beach and then they age quickly, and I'm like, that is warped. It's so warped. Like, what? We're afraid of the aging process that much that we're making scary movies about it? What the actual fuck?
Yeah.
Or that's just some programming. You
yeah,
know, like,
totally.
Reaffirming, like, you should be scared of getting old. Like, nah, bitch. Let me get old.
I saw someone on Instagram, I don't remember her name, but she's awesome. She always has that little mic doing talks. And she was like, all of you talking about us old people on TikTok and Instagram. She's like, getting old is a privilege. Like, yes. And it is. There's so much we could say, but I feel like in my experience, like I'm having to watch my parents age right now. And that is what's bringing up like feelings of them dying. And, you know, that's what, like, death has been really heavy on my mind a lot lately. That's why I reached out to you, is because I know you have experience with, you know, your own, like, you've worked around death, you've been around death, you're an end-of-life doula, you are, you know, working towards that too, and you have lost a lot of people that you love. And I just see you standing in your strength and your light and, like, going through this grief process, and it just helps me see that I can get through it one day when it comes. And just being able to talk about it, like, I feel like there is an element to like pre-mourning.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's making myself miserable in the time or if it's like preparing me in a sense. Yeah. But it feels like I'm like, because of I'm aware of the fact that my parents are going to die and you are going to die and everyone is going to die at some point. Like, I feel like it helps me make better decisions in how I choose to interact with them in each.
Yeah, there's more intention when you have this surrender to like temporary existence. You know, it's like, oh, this is only a little bit, so maybe I should be more thoughtful. But also, like, you know, I try not to get too deep into it. I'm like today I was like, I'm going to get a coffee and a breakfast sandwich because I can. And I don't have to go to work today. And I'm going to take a walk and just, like, sit down and savor this. Like, savor my life. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's not healthy and that's not good. And it's like, okay, sister, get your ass in a balance. Like, there's a balance.
Yeah.
And so I practice that mindful mentality. And I think that's, like, meditative, too.
Right.
But, you know, like, I'm only in this body one time.
Yeah.
Shit, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a total, like, we're here to enjoy life, not just to, like, survive and scrutinize and be healthy and, you know, what's the point if you're not enjoying it?
Okay.
So tell me, would you mind getting, I don't know what you want to talk about, if you want to talk about, like, your work experience with death or your personal experience with death.
We can talk about, I mean, that's what a death cafe is. It's, like, your personal experience.
Yeah.
So
what brought you to this death cafe here, Kelly?
Well, I mean, it's so, like, I saw death at a very young age. Like, my grandpa died when I was in third grade, and how old you are in third grade? Like 8 or 9?
Yeah.
10 maybe?
8 or 9, I think.
Yeah, I can't, like, count backwards in the years, but that was, like, my dog. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I had such a heart connection to that man, and I think that like my teacher let us do a play about it, and so it was very
about death.
Yeah, like about him. Like, I don't even know what it was about, but it was like we wrote this play after my grandpa died. Like, my third grade neighbor and I did, and she let us like have this play. I can't remember what it was about, but
wait, you're in your class at school?
Yes, yeah, and she saw like the grieving process happening like in this child, me, right? And she allowed this creative expression to happen because she just intuitively knew, like,
wow,
you know. So that was like my first experience with death and like the grieving process, and I was really fortunate to have like a support in that. But you know, years later, like, now we're in the times that we're in of like deprivation and like, you can only do this and you can only do this, and Like,
what do you mean? Like,
so like, as far as having ceremony and having funerals and having like, you know, because so many people have died
right
now. And like, I lost my beloved in January, and he was in another country where he's from, which that makes me very happy. Like, he went home literally
to die.
And like, yeah, but it was like not known, right? Like,
right.
And but you know, like, I was not able to attend any funeral, and I'm pretty sure that was because of Coco. I don't, you know, I wasn't like hitting his family up like, hey, can I come through?
Yeah.
Was it chill? But it's like there was no ceremony, there was no ritual, there was no gathering of community to like embrace one another in this loss. It was just like, I found out on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I can't, like I said before, it's like, I can't call your boyfriend and be like, you did?
Yeah.
Like, I laugh about it because that's my way of coping.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to like be silly and like, but like, it was awful. It was awful. I mean, and finding out that way for anyone would be the same thing.
You just saw a post on Instagram?
Yeah, yeah. And I was at work, and I lost it. I was in my car, and I like screamed this like primal scream. Like, I was like, oh, that came out of my body. Like,
yeah.
And then I just like ran to the ocean and just like microdosed for a week. And I was really fortunate to have the people in my life out here. My friend Anita, she's the Guided by Flowers, like, she makes arrangements like for hospice patients, and she gifted me an arrangement to have like ceremony, because I was like, I have to have some ceremony, like I have to do this, like, to commemorate this person in my life, because like I'm so fucking sad. And I guess that was an emotion I was feeling, but I was like, I have never felt this visceral
sadness,
like just a void.
Oh, I can feel it.
Yeah,
I can already feel what it's gonna feel like.
Because it's like you're. It's so hard to explain unless you've experienced it. But it's like you're trying to grab at air, and it's just like, I was like, whoa, this was an out of body experience for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, peace out, body.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm so grateful to the mushrooms because, and the community I was in, and I had a really good friend. My friend Francesca, she drove me out to Malibu, to this beach, and it was so funny because we had like this beautiful intentional ceremony, and I had some fruit and flowers, and we were putting it out into the ocean, and I just washed back on the shore, and all these seagulls were like trying to eat the fruit and the flowers. And I was just
dude, that's epic.
I'm just like, Alex was he would just crack the most fucked up jokes, like at the most like uncool times, and I'm like, this is his orchestration, like this is totally him. Yeah,
like he's sending it back, and he's like,
you're good, please do not be this sad about me. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I want to say too, like, and this is something I'm just curious of, like, it's just a seed, but like, how are we going to care for our grieving people in public spaces? Because I came back to work and I was just like treated like shit for being like a grieving person. And people were, I mean, I had someone tell me who's like in the yoga community, was like, you're a lot to be around. And I was like, oh, that's your fucking problem.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm just thinking, like, how can I alchemize that as, like, I don't know. So it got me thinking, and that was something that I really like learned in this process. Like, how are we going to care for our grieving people when they have to return to like civilian life?
Yeah. Death cafes are one way,
right?
To just gather in community and like, but it is true. Like, death is people don't understand it, and it's kind of like, I've heard people talk about how like initially, right, when you lose someone, you know, you get all the support right up front and everyone's there, and then like as time passes, like people forget about it and kind of expect you to forget about it too. But like, you had sent me, like, yesterday was your birthday, happy birthday. And it was your first birthday without Alex, and you were like, you know, you sent me an audio and you were like, it just hit me like a wave, and this is forever now. Like, And I just think about that, like, when I lose my parents, like, I will never be the same. Like, there will always be, oh my God, like like a hole or something that
right.
there's no replacing, and there's no getting over it, and there's no, like, it's just like adapting to life.
It just is.
Without that person.
Yeah.
Don't mind me. I don't cry on the internet all the time.
Okay,
so
cry
it's fine.
on the internet, girl.
It wouldn't be a death cafe if we were if someone
right,
wasn't crying, right?
I must have cried a lot last night. So I'm chill.
I
cried last night, so I don't need to cry on the internet today. I timed my crying.
I did not cry last night, so it's coming out today.
Okay, yes. Yep.
I haven't even lost anyone, and that's like the crazy part. Like,
I don't think it's crazy.
My parents have not died, but they're fucking gonna.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's hard because sometimes I feel like I'm like actively watching the process, and like, but it's been really beautiful and like healing, because I get to do the healing work with my parents that, by like honoring their death, I feel like I've been able to step into places of healing with them where I wouldn't have been able to go if I didn't honor that they're going to die. And it's like, well, I might as well love them while they're fucking here, despite their imperfections and whatever trauma they did, because they're going to die.
Yes.
And like how hard to then like to have like held on to that anger and pain. Not that anyone else, this is just my story,
right.
like how I have processed through it is, like, and my anger and pain probably isn't as traumatic as a lot of other people's, so I was able to step into a place where I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to fucking deal with this eventually. Mm-hmm. And I would rather deal with it while they're alive.
Yeah.
But it also is like ripping my heart out sometimes, it's just a process.
It's a fucking wave. Grief is oceanic. That's what I kept hearing when I was like in the beginning of it. And I think that's why I needed to go to the ocean, because I just needed to just be in the presence of a void.
Yeah.
And it was so cathartic.
Yeah.
And I talked to one of my good friends about this, because she lost her mother to brain cancer not early last year, like middle. It was in the fall. But we talk about this all the time, because it's like after you experience the death of someone you have like a soul bond with, you just ascend to this level that only other people who have been through. And it's not like, I'm in this cool club and you can't hang out. It's just like this.
Yeah, I don't really want to fucking join the club, honestly.
Well, that's the thing, and the initiation into it is this like fucking life-changing event. And I mean, it has brought me back together with people who I haven't had a connection with for years, and it's just like, yo, hey, you good? Like we're in this club we didn't really think we were going to be in, and it's really beautiful to carry one another, because I just see this like beautiful like cycle. Like when I'm feeling like just on the floor sobbing, I can call my homegirl and she's like, yo, I got you. Or I can call my friend and he's like, I'm here to support you. But the same thing, like they'll be on the floor and they reach out to me and I'm like, you're good.
So how do you support people in that like how do you show up when you're friends?
I just show up. I mean, right now it's on the phone because we all live in different states.
Yeah, but like what do you say to them?
Yeah.
Like how do you...
I just intuitively, honestly, it's just like this flow of conversation. It's like whatever they're talking about or how they're sad. I also try to remind in myself, like, how beautiful that we were able to experience that love and connection tangibly on this earthly plane at all.
Yeah.
Some people never have that love.
Yeah.
Ever. And that shit, like, bums me out more than, the death.
It's better to, my mom always said growing up, it's better to have loved and have lost than never loved at all.
At all? Woo, at all?
Yeah. So you just hold space and like just listen and affirm, like remind them of these, like, at least you got that time together or whatever, like whatever they may need.
Mm-hmm. And listening is huge. And it's a practice. I mean, gotten a lot better at it because it's like it's been commanded of me to just sit and listen.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes we think like, oh, we have to have this grand gesture, and being a Leo too, I'm like the most.
Yeah.
like, do you need this, and do you need this, and do you need this, and sometimes it's like I'm just here to listen.
Yeah.
Or like just be present.
Because there's nothing you can say.
Mm-mm.
Like nothing, and sometimes I just say that to people. I'm just like, I have nothing to say. Like I don't even know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I can say. Well, I love you.
Yeah.
And I'm here and I'm hugging you, and like if you want to come over for a literal hug, you know.
Yeah.
Like just because there's nothing. And my mom, like, so I grew up talking about death because my mom worked in the cemetery. And so we would like pass around the caskets at the dinner table and like pick out shit.
That.
Yeah.
That's some Scorpio energy.
Yeah, she's got the Scorpio moon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes
But she's a Leo too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she so we would talk about it all the time, and like I was always encouraged growing up, like if someone like, cuz I've always been around a lot of death. I haven't experienced a lot personally. Like I've had people die, but not like that earth-shattering person yet, which is why I'm fucking low-key, high-key terrified of it. But anytime someone would die, like at school or whatever, she would just encourage me to talk about it with people. And she was like, you don't have to know what to say, but the fact that you're willing to say something to these people is going to mean more to them than if you just pretend like they didn't go through whatever they just experienced. So she was always and encouraged me to like go to the funeral. And with I have so many things I want to say, but just the part about ceremony too, like now with Coco there's restrictions and stuff on the ceremonies, and it's just heartbreaking to.
That's where I get very angry. That's where my fire shows up. Like we're gonna do something different then.
Yeah.
We're gonna recalibrate.
We're going to recalibrate death.
The ceremonial part.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's like home funerals, there's green burials, there's like, in a lot of states, like you don't have to, like if someone is dying at home, you don't have to call the coroner right away. You can spend time. And that's like some ancestral stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have to just let go of that body.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
There's so many alternatives, and that's like where I get real hyped. I'm like, yo, let me put you on.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this shit. You don't have to follow this agenda. Like you can be sovereign in death.
You could bury someone in your. I mean, there's some laws around it, but like, if you have your own land, like you can bury on your own land.
Yeah, there's some stuff you can.
Not within certain amounts of city and like things like that, but like, and again, nothing I say is ever legal advice or medical advice. You know the disclaimer, but there are ways, and like you said, like even just taking an hour, 5 hours, however long you want, but like any amount of time to just like honor that process, like because once they take that body, like that body's gone now.
Yeah.
And you don't get to see it. You can see it in the funeral home.
Right.
You can see it. It's gonna be different.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I'm really grounding into, because I mean Arizona is the state we live in, so I'm looking at what legalities are here and put in place, or what can be challenged, or it's that gray area.
Yeah.
But it's just like, but that's the thing. It's like we're able to learn these things, and we're able to advocate, and that's like, I really feel like my purpose here is just, and you know how you're talking about like coming to grips with your parents' mortality, and you're like pre-grieving, right? That's what's beautiful about being present and being alive right now. You have the capabilities to not plan how you die. I mean, you can, like what you want, like that's power of attorney is huge, and like your will and testament, like what you want to happen, and while you have the cognitive abilities to do so.
That's what my mom does for a living. Like she sells, I mean, she works for like the Walmart essentially of death care. So it's like she's, but she is a literal angel, like in that system. Like she's, very present with her families and like, But that's what she encourages people all the time, because she's like, when your loved one, like, we're all gonna fucking die. And when your loved one dies, like, you don't want to question, like, shit, did they want to be cremated?
Right.
Did they want to be buried? Where did they want to be buried? Did they want a funeral? What music did they want playing? How did they, like, what about their obituary? Like, there's so many things that you have to decide in the middle of losing someone that you love.
Yes.
Like, so, you know, she helps families sit down and pre-plan their funeral. And
It's important.
you can, like, pre-plan every, like, you could plan as much as you fucking wanted to. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, but once you're gone, you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't, I'm always like, well, I don't really fucking care. Do whatever you want with me at your funeral. But, like, at the same time, like, I feel like I would want to be cremated, for example, because I don't want no fucking ties to this place when I'm out. Like,
I just want the bears to, like, rip off my limbs and, like, the worms to eat me.
Yeah, and my friend sent me a mushroom casket, which I could get down with, like, a casket that turns you into mushrooms.
Yeah.
I'm open, but basically I don't want, my mom got me, like, a mausoleum crypt. I'm like, bitch,
Ooh.
you think I'm gonna be buried in a...
I'm not trying to chill in the crypt.
Like, nah, bitch. Nah. Me and my future husband got a mausoleum crypt, so...
I just want to, like, sit in there and
wipe
hang
me
out.
up,
like, I don't
baby.
want to be in there when I'm dead. I want to be in there when I'm alive.
I'm literally like, Mom, no.
She got you the hookup on the crypt.
She did. She was like, well, she
That's
thought we wanted to be
amazing.
next week. Well, because her and my dad have.
Yeah.
But she works in the business, so she's all like,
yo,
yeah.
like, let me put you on.
Let me put you on. I'm like, no. But, yeah, so anyway, I got 2 crypts for sale.
I just keep thinking of, like, the crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt.
I don't know that.
What? Dude, I'm just, like, such a pop culture person. Like,
I am not. I'm like, what are
it's
movies?
okay. It was a show on HBO. I was probably I should not have been watching it when I was young as I was. But I was like, what's this?
Death.
And my parents were gone all the time. Like, my dad was in a band and my mom was out doing whatever she was doing. So my brother and I were like, we can watch this.
Yeah.
Taking care of ourselves.
There you go. Well, I feel like we're not done, though. Are we done?
I don't know. What's up? What else? What else should we talk about?
That, I don't, like, what do you
it's
think
a
happens
wide
when you
spectrum. I used to have so many answers to that, but I don't fucking know, dude. I know right now.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why my intention is to be present right now. Because once I drift off that cliff, toodaloo.
We don't know.
I don't.
But you, like, I feel like even since, like, after the last podcast or the last time we hung out, like, okay, let me back up. I think...
Did I say something?
What you told me, well, I was going to talk about the synchronicities, because for me, like, when I think about after death, a part of me is like, we just go back into the fucking blob of oneness and, like, lose ourselves.
Yeah.
But then I know you and other people in my life who have told me about, like, the synchronicities and signs that they have after losing someone. And I was just remembering after we hung out at the pool and we talked about you losing Alex, and I was thinking when I was driving away, and I was so sad. I, like, got so sad for you for a second. And then that car drove by that said, I'm alive.
Yeah, damn. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm just, like, thinking about, like...
Was he alive at 3?
We talked about this, and I didn't remember. I didn't remember if the E was a 3, but it just makes me, like, feel, because I feel like when I lose my parents, like, we definitely have a soul connection. Like, I'm an only child between them, and, like, you know, it's strong. It runs deep. But I know that as much as it's going to hurt in the physical, I just have this knowing that, like, they're gonna fucking show up for me.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you had any, like, cool stories or, like, anything you'd be willing to share on that topic.
One thing I was saying to people who were really close to Alex, that I had, like, a connection to through him, I was like, you know, he's returned to the essence that he originated from. And so I guess I do have some thoughts. But it's like it's the ethers, right? And then it's like the air, the sky, the birds, the water. Like, this is all, like a cosmic union, all of this.
Yeah.
So it's like, how beautiful to just speculate that is where their energy returns to. And with these memories that we have of all these people and who we have these soul connections to, it's like we keep them alive in our memories and our conversations, and they're tangible things. I think I told you about that video that Sarah Knapp, Grief is a River.
Grief is a River. Go follow Grief is a River. Yes. She's amazing.
Also Guided by Flowers.
Guided by Flowers. I'll put them in the link.
Yeah. She did this legacy project with her dad's clothing, and they cut certain shirts up to make like handkerchiefs or pillows, and then share them with people who are sharing in this grief. And I'm like, dude. And it's so simple. It's so simple. Like, I know this is kind of deviating from like what happens after, but it's just a way to keep their memory alive. And again, the afterlife is in the present life, bro.
The afterlife is right now life.
Sick.
Yeah, my family did that with like ties and stuff of my grandpa. We passed along, and what I was going to say is, I heard one time, this like hit me in my feels. It was like, you die twice. The first time is when your body leaves the physical plane, and the second time is the last time someone says your name on earth. And I was like, whoa. So we do keep people alive, and if we do become like the essence of everything, then like it makes sense that you're thinking about your loved one, and then a hummingbird comes, right. Or like, right. Their essence is essentially like, just because this is all.
I mean, how are they able to simultaneously show up for multiple people, right? Because they're scattered everywhere, and they're energetic essence.
And so we just kind of like create a. Yeah, did you hear that? There was like a
little sound.
So I guess it is comforting. Do you have any like cool synchronicities or things, or like?
Hummingbirds showed up a lot. A lot. Like I was standing outside of House of Intuition. Not a plug. It was just a beautiful place in Echo Park, where I got some stones and stuff for a ceremony, and where I met someone. I ate a lot of mushrooms that day, and I was just like standing in line because people were getting their temperatures taken, and I started to lose it because of that. I was like, what fucking reality am I existing in right now?
Yeah.
This is just a mind fuck. And I got really aware of that, and I was like, and started sobbing because I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I'm here, and just kept on the hamster wheel. And then the hummingbird just like out of nowhere was like, hey bitch, center.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, you're right. And, and then I got in the store, and I was just like, I know exactly what to do. I was gathering, things intuitively, and I ran into this girl, like literally almost ran into her. And she was just, I could see like the sadness in her eyes. Also preface the story with seeing two really sweet dudes like walking their dog and just being so kind to one another, and I was like, hi.
Aww.
And then this soul who also was going through a deep loss, she was like, I heard you talking about the death you're experiencing, and she's like, I'm going through that too, what should I get? And I was just like, boo, like all of these things are going to talk to you, just allow yourself to like receive the messages. And I was like, this is what I need to be doing, this is what I need to be, like, holy shit, I'm literally right where I need to be. And this, like, Alex brought me there.
Yeah,
that's what's like, whew. And he was like, you need to move to Arizona, like that's where your future is, that's where your opportunity is, like you need to really like ground into this death work, like this is for you, for sure.
He was encouraging you to do the death work.
Yeah.
And then he fucking died.
I know, dude. It's a fucking trip. Like, my whole body's tingling right now, actually.
Yeah, me too. Like, I have goosebumps. You can't see them, but...
Yeah, I was like, okay, homie, thanks for the push.
Yeah.
So then we get to Matador Beach, which is in Malibu, which is an hour and some change from LA. As, like, we're leaving, the sun is setting, like, we're walking up these stairs. We see those two dudes from House of Intuition who are at the beach to scatter ashes.
What? Wait, House of Intuition is where?
It's in Echo Park,
which is
in
in
LA.
LA.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, they went to the
Same people having ceremony at the same beach.
Whoa.
As we're leaving, they're arriving.
Whoa.
And we were like, we
I
all
got
were like,
goosebumps
whoa,
again.
what?
Whoa.
Yeah. It was pretty wild. I was like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yeah,
and I just kept like, that's why I was like, I kind of was in this portal of like, there is no past, there is no future, there's only now. There's only right now. Right now is happening.
That's really true, though.
So, that's where I'm living.
Right now.
Right now.
Damn, that's beautiful. After my grandma passed, I had to go to work. I like got the call right as I was going into work, and I was all like just sad. Like losing a grandparent is sad, but it's also like for me, I was like, well, bitch is 92. Like she's gonna die.
She had a good life.
Like she gonna die, and so it was sad. But like, I still went to work or whatever, and I walked in and I walked out front on our patio, and my grandparents were like fishers. Like my grandpa was a truck driver. Like my grandma worked at home, but they would fish and camp and stuff like that. And I walked out front, and this chick was sitting by herself at a patio table, and she had fish shoes on. Like shoes that looked like fish. And like I just immediately started like crying and laughing, and was just like, because I always remember as a kid too, my grandparents had that like fish on the wall that was don't worry, be happy. So it was like that fish in shoes, and I just like knew that was like I've never since then or after then or before then seen a bitch wearing fish shoes. Like,
Yeah.
They were literal fish.
And right after.
Yeah, that day.
Right after.
Right, like that was my first customer, was a client or a woman in fish shoes, and I just was like, okay. And to me, like, whether or not that's my grandparents or not, like we are living in a simulation, and whatever meaning you give to things is what it is, essentially. And like that brought me comfort.
Right.
So like who the fuck cares if a hummingbird isn't your loved one? But if it brings you comfort, you know what I mean? Because I feel like people could be like, oh, that's just, whatever. Like, but I'm just like, if it brings you comfort, if it makes you happy, brings you peace, and honors that person and that place, that relationship you had with them, then like, honor that.
Let it be that. Let it be that meaning.
Yeah.
I get my panties in a twist when people who are like literal thinking are like, that's just that. And it's like, your literal, like one track is taking away the magic of like this experience, and magic is real. And I really like, I think my life's work is to get them to realize that too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, dude, there is so much magic happening daily.
The universe is always communicating with you once you open up to it.
And it's the irony too is like these people that I'm referring to in this instance are like atheists, and I'm like, the irony of that is like you have to try so hard to believe in nothing. Like it's just literal, and I'm like, nothing.
I went through an atheist phase for a while. It's
and again, like there's no judgment. It's just like I'm so curious. Like it seems like a lot of work.
It just seems I was depressed when I was an atheist. I was like, well, what? Like, why don't I just die now then?
Well, right.
Like shit. Fuck.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, this is a wrap. Yeah, our own death. Are you afraid of your own death?
I don't think so. I don't know. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, I wonder what I'm going to be doing. You know? Where am I going to be at when it's time?
I know. I think about
I don't know. I'm busy doing shit now, so.
I know.
I'm like, I'm cool now, so. That's why I'm like, let me eat this fucking baller breakfast sandwich on this stoop and like watch people, run by and just like savor the experience of existence. Man.
Literally. Yeah, man. Just fucking chill, man. We're on a rock flying through space, man. Or maybe a plane.
It's like
who knows?
Right now.
Yeah, right? We're not even high.
Yeah. On life.
High on life. Well, do you have any more like tips or anything like you know, having gone through death and lost people and worked around death, do you have anything else that you feel is...
Trust in your community. Like, really find the people who are your people, and it just happens. Like, that's what's so beautiful. And like, I know I was meant to be here when that happened, because if I would have been in Chicago, it would have been a different experience. That's where I moved from, for the people listening.
Yeah. Because of Alex's nudging to get out here.
And that was before. Like, it was before. I mean, obviously it was before, but it was passed, like last summer. Because he was like, you have always talked about this. You've always talked about moving to Arizona. Like, I mean, shit was just so fucked up for everybody at the beginning of 2020. And I was already in the wind anyway. I didn't have a lease. I was like free. And I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go. But it was this really, like, I didn't want to leave. But he was like, it's worth trying. Like, Chicago will be here. I'll be here if you want to come back. And I'm like, okay. Fucking fire. Well, especially Leo's. It's like, we need to push.
Yeah.
And I just trusted that. And like, again, like, being somewhere, and I know it's like, it's so deeper than just like, well, go somewhere that's not where you are. Like, I was able to just run to the ocean. And I just, that's another thing, like, whatever you feel intuitively that is not harmful to yourself or others, do it. I also didn't eat for like a while. My body just like was not hungry. It just was in shock. And one of our dear friends, Natalia, she was like, she did some like a Reiki session, and that just wasn't, it helped, but she was like, take some aconite. And
what's that?
It is an herb, but it's I took it like homeopathically, and holy shit, that brought me back to the earthly plane like a floating feather. Like, I just whoop. And I was still like, because I was like, I don't want to take this raw visceral experience away. And that's why, like, when I got back here, I just quit taking anything. I was like, I need to be sober during this. And not to say like mushrooms aren't, you know, like, they have a place in this cycle, but I just was like, I took too many while I was there, and I kind of like got lost in this ether of like, am I here, am I there, you know?
Yeah.
So I really suggest that, to just experience it as raw as possible. Because in my experience, if you don't, it will fucking crawl its way, like claw and crawl its way back up out of you. And it just pops out at sometimes you're standing in the grocery store sobbing like a psycho. Yeah. So just move through the process as intuitively as possible.
And be gentle with yourself. Yes, and if your body's, so you were in Arizona and your body was like, I need the ocean, so you just went to.
But I'm so thankful for this weather, that it was sunny and like nice, because it was winter in Chicago, sad and gloomy and cold. Oh, that would not have been good medicine for me.
No.
So I'm fortunate, very fortunate that,
yeah. I would say we can honor death by just acknowledging that it's there.
Yeah. Yes. So
it's
simple.
Like kind of always there.
Yeah. It's part of the cycle.
It's part of the cycle, and just being gentle with each other, because, you know, like Ram Dass says, we're all just walking each other home. Ram Dass. Watching his, I just watched again, what's it called? Coming Home?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
On Netflix? You haven't seen it?
Mm-mm.
It was actually really beautiful for me to witness, because, like I said, I'm watching my parents get older, and that's been really challenging. And I know that a lot of people are probably going through it too, you know, like we're getting to that age where we're having to, and it's been really beautiful, like, for me to step into that role with my parents, where I do get to kind of like take care of them. My mom's fine, she's still working. But like, you know, I help around the house because my dad can't do anything, and like just being able to like hold space for him and talk to him, and like, but it's a lot, you know, and like it's some days are harder than others, some days are easy, but watching that Ram Dass, like watching him get old and like struggle through it, like, and keep a positive attitude helped me like hold space for my dad, because my dad's like depressed in it and sad in it, and like, so the contrast of like being able to watch Ram Dass like find peace in his aging despite his body also not working has allowed me to like not see death or aging as like so awful and miserable, because it has been like so hard for my dad, you know? And so like it also helps me reframe it in a way where like now I can hold space for my dad to maybe step further into that peacefulness that Ram Dass had on his documentary about his own death. And the mushrooms, I think, are going to help usher in a lot of that, because I'm not going to get too deep into it on here, but my dad recently, who has never taken psychedelics in his life, like smoked weed once, he's started to do a little bit of microdosing to help with his depression and aging and all of it. So it's just, I'm really excited and just honored that I get to be there for my parents, because I would want someone to be there for me.
Right. Yeah. Plants too.
Plants.
Like plant medicine is like the rose that's in that tea. There's motherwort. Aconite. Rose is
the aconite's in here?
No, in the that I took. I'm just.
Oh, I was like, hi, I've never met you.
Yeah, and nature.
Yeah, getting out into nature, and
there's healing in that, for sure.
There's so many things: community, nature, healing, food, plants, loving each other, supporting each other.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna probably do a death cafe sometime that you can come to in the real life.
In the real life.
If you're in Phoenix, or we could even do like I have some friends that are like in other parts of the country too, so we could also do like a Zoom.
Whatever. However it evolves.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing, is you could start a death cafe too. Like, I guess we just encourage, well, at least I do, I won't speak for Uncle Kelly, but I encourage you to, talk about death and talk to your parents about death, or talk to your family about death, and just honor it, because it is a part of life. It doesn't have to be scary. It has been hijacked, much like birth, and that's why I thought it was important to talk about this next.
Consensually, you might have to microdose death to some people.
Right. Well, I mean, we don't have to go around and
sit down. We're talking about it.
Right, but I mean, like, just like if you don't know maybe what your parents want of their body or something,
start a conversation.
Yeah, and it can start with just you. Like, what are your thoughts on death? And
how do you feel? Like the first question that one of my mentors asked, like during the end of life doula class, she was like, "What is a good death to you?" And it's so funny now, because we were all like drawing pictures and like, and she's like, "Oh, well, you don't get to control that."
Yeah.
It's like you have the capabilities to plan, but like it's gonna come for you when it's time. And so how are you being proactive in that process? And I was like, whoa.
All right. Well, do you want to, maybe I would be honored if you would pull a card for the collective.
Let's do the Starseed one.
Starseed?
Yeah.
Here you go.
It's pretty.
I love that deck.
I like the box.
I know, it's not great for...
Oh, wait. Why doesn't this work? Oh, it's because it's a book.
That's funny. Thank you guys for listening to us talk about death and process death. There's so much more that we could...
Come through. Let's talk about death.
Yeah. I'm like, there's so much more we could say.
Do you like spread them out, or do you just...
You can do it however you want. You can spread them out if that was what you were going to do.
Okay. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. I'm like, do whatever.
Just do one?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Is it the fucking... Oh, perspective.
None of this matters. We're floating on this rock through space, man.
Dude.
That's the Earth.
That's fucking on
Zoom
point.
out, common ground. Whoa.
Dude, perspective, none of this matters. Zoom out, common ground. You could not. The only other, I thought it was the void at first, which would have been the only other.
We're
like,
almost there.
Yeah, perspective. But it's true there, and like that brings me peace too. Like, I don't know what happens when we die. I don't know what's gonna happen, but you know, I believe that there's more going on than we are privy to.
Of course.
And so when I just surrender to, you know, like as scared as I am to lose my parents, like I know it's going to catapult me in ways that I can't, you know, unimaginable upgrade, like the pain, but the upgrades, I know it's going to create things. So just by zooming out and like having the perspective that like none of this matters, we don't fucking know shit about shit. Mm-hmm. Let go and trust.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like that's also some ego stuff too, and we go through stages of death throughout our whole development and evolution and aging process. So like, it's a practice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Aging. Oh,
great.
It's great. It's a privilege.
Yeah. I'm in my flirties. I'm 38.
Yeah, I'm flirty. I'm flirty too.
Flirty too. Hot dang.
Hot dang. So flirty too. All right. Well, I think that's
good.
Yeah.
We got to the meat and potatoes of this.
There's so much more to say, but we'll save that for the Death Cafe. So you can find Uncle Kelly on Instagram, right? I'm sure she shares a lot of great content about death and on her stories. And will you say your Instagram handle?
Well, it's Baba Yaga, but it's _ Baba Yaga _.
So @ _BABAYAGA _ And we also would definitely recommend @Grief is a River.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think there's periods in that. Grief period.
I'll put it in the comments. I don't remember. And then Guided by Flowers.
Mm-hmm. Those are just a couple. Like, I recommend if you are interested in like end of life anything, searching the hashtag end of life, because so many people pop up. Because there's people who just work in like green burial. There's people who do like home funeral. It's like Going with Grace is another person that's just like, she's so rad. Just doing some really upheavaling work of like the stigma and
taking back our death and bringing it back to the community and the people and taking power of our death, because the death portal and the birth portal are the same portal. Like, I don't think Rachel said this in the podcast, but she described it. She's like, it's like we're on a lazy river.
Yes, yeah.
And the death and birth portal is the exit. Or did you say that?
Yeah, she said it in the podcast.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, because I was like, ooh, I want to float in a lazy river.
Yeah, right? I'm like...
It's my koozie. It's time.
So definitely check out those accounts. Message me or Uncle Kelly if you have questions about death or want to talk about it, and be on the lookout for a Death Cafe coming to you. We love you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Still hazy, funk past J's and face of blunt ashtrays and skate with punk kids. I still chase the sun bad days. I'm lacing up half cabs and shake John spliffs. Whatever happened to rap, it should rest in peace to Mac, and I'm here to raise it from the dead. Cause drugs ain't cool, kid, plug you with that new shit. Turn water to wine and break bread. And if I said this all the future, would you trust I told the truth, or would you run away and tell my whole fan base? Cause sooner or later, kid, they'll take your human nature and they'll burn you at the stakes while the band plays. So, in the last words, better speak up now. I said, why do birds sing? What's a king without a crown? They all stood in silence while they listened to the sound of a madman reason with the demons he found. You can't lock up ideas, we don't even exist. I just live through the speakers and the beats that we kick. Is this forbidden fruit from the Garden of Eden? Is it freedom of speech, or am I speaking for freedom?